We are all united by our wish to live in peace, to live a happy life with our families, parents and kids. We have the full right to all of this because we are at home here in Ukraine. Nobody will love our home as much as we do, and nobody can defend our home as we can. I wish you a happy Unity Day, my blue yellow ones, a happy day of unity of Ukraine. In the east and west, in the south and north, it works only together, and when it works, we are strong.
Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky speaking there. And a little earlier, I spoke to DW correspondent Matthias Böllinger, who's covering a Ukrainian military maneuver in the city of Rivne. I asked him whether we are seeing the de-escalation that Ukraine's leaders have been hoping for.
Well, it could be, but Ukrainian authorities are careful. They have said that they do not see the final proof that they're really withdrawing yet. They're still looking at all the information, so they're really careful and they want to be really sure that it is really happening. Russia will be in any way. If Russia starts withdrawing now, it will also be able to bring them back quickly. So this is why Ukraine is really careful and is waiting for it. But you can feel a certain detente here anyway.
Also, the Ukraine is still upholding a military exercise that's taking place where you are right now. What is Kiev trying to say with this?
So this military exercise has just finished. The president has come here. He has watched this exercise and then he's had talks with the soldiers. Ukraine is, of course, saying that it is going to stay prepared. This crisis is nowhere over. Ukraine has been at war for 8 years, and any other form of incursion, be it a military incursion or some kind of cyber warfare, any of this can still happen. So the signal, of course, the president is trying to send here is that Ukraine is still prepared, and they're maybe also making use of all the attentions they have been getting on this day that has been pinpointed by some Western services as the day of a possible incursion.
Today is also Ukraine's Day of Unity. That's a public holiday that was just invented 2 days ago. How are Ukrainians celebrating? How are they reacting to it?
Yes, the president 2 days ago announced this day of national unity. That is, of course, another reaction to this date that has been set by the information that was leaked by Western services. There are flag-raising ceremonies all over the country, a lot of official activities, and some Ukrainians also have been putting the national flag, for example, on their cars, are celebrating in the street. But it's a working day. It is not a holiday. So you will not see masses of Ukrainians celebrating this war, that the fact that this war didn't happen, or some kind of a victory. It is a way by the government to give this day a different spin, to send a different message to the world from this message that we've been hearing for the last few weeks, that this country is at the brink of an invasion.
DW correspondent Matthias Böllinger there in the Ukrainian city of Rivne. Thank you very much, Matthias. But before the announcement of withdrawals, outside estimates put the number of Russian troops close to Ukraine's borders at 130,000, and that's including 30,000 involved in exercises in neighbouring Belarus. The buildup has happened in stages, but it has given Russia the opportunity to flex its military muscles and show the scale of the potential threat to Ukraine.
Russian fighter jets patrol the skies above Belarus. On the ground, Russian Marines practice combat drills with the Belarusian army. Just some of the 30,000 or so Russian troops taking part in the largest military exercise held between the two neighbours since the collapse of the Soviet Union. In Russia's northern Leningrad region, more footage released by the Russian Ministry of Defence. This time, one of its tank units involved in another military exercise. And in the south, Russian warships openly train in the Black Sea. The country's military build-up around Ukraine has been no secret, even if getting accurate numbers has been hard. Satellite images released this week have shed more light. These jets were photographed on Sunday at an airbase in Crimea, an area annexed by Russia in 2014. And images of military helicopters were taken near the Russian city of Soloti, not far from the Ukrainian border. On Tuesday, Moscow announced it was withdrawing some of its forces. Hours later, the Ministry of Defense released these images, which it maintains show troops leaving Crimea. Meanwhile, Ukraine's military is a fraction of Russia's. Its active duty troops are just a quarter of its foes, even if civilians are being trained up to help bridge the gap. Some members of NATO have been providing Ukraine with military aid. But it's hard to compete with a nuclear power, even if it says it doesn't want war.
Many Western leaders are reluctant to take the Russian leader at his word. The European Union is urging Moscow to take real steps to de-escalate tensions and to follow words with actions. Meanwhile, NATO ministers are meeting in Brussels to reaffirm their commitment to alliance members in Eastern Europe. NATO chief Jens Stoltenberg says there's no evidence Russia is backing down.
We have heard the signs from Moscow about readiness to continue diplomatic efforts. But so far, we have not seen any de-escalation on the ground. On the contrary, it appears that Russia continues the military build-up.
NATO chief Jens Stoltenberg speaking there. And now for the view from Brussels, where NATO is headquartered, let's go to our bureau chief, Alexandra von Namen there. Alexandra, NATO leader Stoltenberg clearly not buying Putin's gestures. How is NATO preparing for the road ahead?
NATO allies are saying now they need first to verify whether Russia is really pulling back some troops from near the Ukrainian border, and that is certainly what is happening now. And we can expect NATO allies to continue their dual-track approach towards Russia. On the one hand, they are saying they are open to dialogue. They want to keep talking about Russia's security concerns. On the other hand, NATO will continue to provide defense and deterrence. Many NATO allies have started sending additional troops to Eastern Europe, the US, of course, but also other nations such as Estonia, for example, or Germany. And NATO Secretary General Stoltenberg has made clear that he believes that the current situation has already led to a deterioration of the security architecture in Europe and that it will have long-term consequences. And that means that NATO defense ministers will talk here today about an enhanced NATO presence in Eastern Europe. They will speak about an additional battalion, an additional battle group that could be established in Romania, a group that would be resembling those forces already in place in the Baltic states and in Poland.
Well, Western leaders reject so far Putin's key demand that Ukraine will not join NATO. What can they offer instead?
NATO has made it clear that they could offer discussions about confidence-building measures that could lead to more transparency when it comes to military drills, for example, or troops movement. The US, for their part, they are offering Russia a discussion about arms control and also more transparency and deployment of missiles. That's all on the table, and Russia, we can expect, is interested in speaking about that. However, when we talk about Russia's main concern, main demand, that NATO ban Ukraine from becoming a member ever, that is not going to happen. NATO has made it clear this is not on the table.
DW Brussels Bureau Chief Alexandra von Namen there. Thank you, Alexandra.